This is Lisa from MobileTechReview and Assistant, here for our first video for you for 2021, and it's a good one too. This is the HP Spectre x360 14-inch, not the 13 anymore. So what they've done here is they've given us a 3:2 aspect ratio display, like Microsoft Surface products have. A lot of people were clamoring for 16:10 aspect ratio displays, which is typical for Apple's MacBook laptops, and we're seeing that come this year in several laptops, but 3:2 is still pretty rare. Not only that, you have an option between IPS Full HD Plus, because it's a little bit more than the standard Full HD resolution, or an OLED model. It's a new panel that's very good. Of course, Intel 11th Gen CPUs inside with faster Iris Xe graphics. A pen included in the box that magnetically attaches over here. Sounds good, right? We're going to look at it now. So, though the aspect ratio has changed, and this is a little bit deeper depending on how you look at it than the previous generation, the design is largely the same. And that's not a bad thing, because that Spectre x360 gem cut look is really pretty. And the build quality is excellent on it, just as it has been. Color selection is the same too. We have the Nightfall Black, which is obviously a little bit towards the brown color with some copper accents. The Poseidon Blue that we've seen before that has the more like light brass accents. And then just the Stayed Silver for those who want to look chill and not too designery. One of the gem cuts on the back has a USB-C/Thunderbolt 4 port. We've got two Thunderbolt 4 ports. We have a micro SD card slot and a USB-A port, which I do appreciate because I don't have to resort to dongle life within 2 minutes of unboxing it and wanting to plug in a mouse or something like that. So pricing starts right now, and HP always has sales, and we just had the holiday sales, and I'm sure there'll be more again, but pricing starts now around $1,300 or so, but you might find it for less, sometimes as low as $999. That's for the Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig SSD, and the Full HD Plus IPS display, all the way up to our $1,699, currently exclusive to Best Buy in the US model, with the Core i7 16 gigs of RAM, a terabyte SSD, and that lovely OLED display on board. Now even Best Buy just had it on sale for $1,500. So again, shop around if you like it, and the price can be more attainable. As has been the case for some time with the Spectres and most Ultrabooks really, the RAM is soldered on. It is DDR4. You can get it with 8 or 16 gigs of RAM. You cannot upgrade that yourself afterwards. You can get anything from 256 gigabyte all the way up to a 2 terabyte SSD, and they have both Intel Optane and NVMe SSD options, whichever you choose. I'm good with NVMe myself, and that's what most SKUs offer on this. We have Intel Wi-Fi 6, AX201 on board, and a fingerprint scanner, and a little bit of a redesign of the keyboard deck. Speaking of that fingerprint scanner, ergonomically it's not a bad location at the bottom row of keyboard keys there, but it does displace the control key, which might bug some of you muscle memory if you use that right control key a lot. The power button is not on the side anymore. Since this is a 360-degree convertible, we often see the power button on the side, so if you're using it in tablet mode, whatever, it's accessible. Now it's on the keyboard. Some of you will take issue with the location of that versus the delete key. I would have liked if they swapped it around, but that is what it is. We have a webcam privacy switch, and this one's electronic, so it's not a physical shutter that slides over, but you can see the diagonal white LEDs that go across it. Basically, I think it functionally blinds it. There's also a quick access key for HP Command Center, so there are various settings to control the laptop. That's fine with me. And a in-bag protection feature. Now this one I really like. So you know how sometimes you close your laptop, put it to sleep, you put it in your bag, you discover it's woken itself up, killed the battery, and the thing is running hot. Supposedly this will make sure that that doesn't happen. So far it hasn't happened to me, but it's not like I get to go a lot of places anymore thanks to you-know-what. So let's talk about the display some more, because that's one of the bigger changes here. That 3:2 aspect ratio display gives you a lot of height. If you spend a lot of your time just watching videos, which are typically 16:9, you'll see black bars at the top and the bottom. But if you're doing anything else, web browsing, working on Word documents, all that stuff, the added height is really appreciated. Also, if you're using that included pen and doing art, you got that golden ratio of 3:2 for artwork, and a lot of digital cameras still we shoot in 3:2 aspect ratio. So if you're using Photoshop or something like that, that's nice. So for the display options, since this is HP's premium Ultrabook, none of them are slouches, let's put it that way. They have an IPS display, the base one, that's 400 nit, and it's a pretty good one. You know, you got your full sRGB color gamut, nice enough looking display. There's the HP SureView one that is the privacy screen, so it's 1000 nits, and primarily it's 1000 nits, so it can do that kind of whiteout trick to make it hard for people on either side to see. But that one's available too if you want. And those are 1920 by 1280, so 3:2 aspect ratio, but not the super high resolution of the OLED display, which is 3000 by 2000 pixels. Again, something like if you're thinking about, remember Surface Book? Yeah, that kind of resolution there. And that's a very nice display. It's a new generation of OLED, they say. So contrast ratio is improved of the previous gen that we saw from HP. And a bit, maybe it's an improvement in the coating on top of the glass, but a little bit less of that kind of sickly off-axis greenish kind of tint that you sometimes see. Obviously, color gamut and contrast are going to be very high here. And the color calibration, there's a couple of different profiles, and it has an auto switching one to try to maintain color accuracy. But out of the box, I have to say, it was calibrated pretty well. So the days of OLED panels that were blown out and, you know, egregious levels of too much color everywhere, that's not a problem here. Well done. It's sweet. All of them support pen and touch. HP includes their active pen, and that is Microsoft Pen Protocol 2.0, which is N-Trig technology, and it's improved too. It used to be HP's N-Trig pens lag behind Microsoft Surface products, which also use that technology, and this is feeling more like it. The diagonal lines are smoother. It's more responsive. I actually found I enjoyed drawing on it some. It's not a Wacom Cintiq and Wacom EMR or an Apple Pencil level of awesome sauce, but it's not bad at all, honestly. And for note-taking, it's perfectly good. This is a glossy display, the OLED display, and it's HP. They do tend to have a lot of glare, but fortunately, it's fairly bright. So in terms of performance, it's like any other Intel 11th Gen Ultrabook here. Yeah, no AMD Ryzen, sorry, but I think one of the reasons is HP really wants Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt 4 is what we have here, and AMD is just getting to the point where now that, you know, that was Intel own property, but now they'll be able to use it, but not yet. So for Thunderbolt docks and all that sort of thing, they still go with Intel. We have Core i5 and Core i7 options. Again, we have the Core i7, so when you see the benchmarks going across the screen, you can base it on that. And performance is quite good, as you would expect. It's a 4-core CPU. The Intel Xe graphics are really the star for this generation because a significant leap in improvement here for integrated graphics. This doesn't mean that you're going to be playing Cyberpunk 2077, woohoo, you know, that kind of thing. But if you're playing older games, if you need a little extra oomph for doing some Adobe Premiere or working on Photoshop and all that sort of thing, then it's got you getting in the direction that you want to go for some improved performance. Heat on the outside wasn't that bad. Granted, it's wintertime here now, but it is wintertime in Dallas, Texas, which is not exactly a cold, cold place either. Surface temperatures, even when running benchmarks, weren't that bad. Not like burning hot, but certainly quite warm. We are talking Intel. But the chassis being a little bit bigger in one dimension probably helps give them a little more room for cooling, and they have a fairly good thermal solution inside here. We'll take a look at the internals so you can see that. So overall, good job done. Yes, the CPU cores can still, if you're really, really pushing it hard or benchmarking, reach near thermal maximum, but overall, I'm not complaining. The keyboard on this, the feel is really good. I'm not a fan of low travel keyboards, but the tactile feel on this, it's crisp, it takes a good amount of force to push the key down, and you get a good spring back, and I just clicked with this keyboard. It's good. Trackpad, very large, you know, everybody's copying Apple and all that sort of thing, but it behaves perfectly well. We have quad speakers, quad stereo speakers, Bang & Olufsen branded, and they're okay. They're not bad for a convertible Ultrabook of this size. They're certainly not gonna, you know, make you throw away your headphones either, though. So this comes with a 65-watt charger, so that means faster charging, and a 66-watt-hour battery, which is pretty darn big for an Ultrabook. Again, maybe the bigger size of the chassis by a little bit just gives them the room to fit that sort of thing in. Battery life will depend on which display you have. Obviously, if you get the 1000-nit display and you're running it in privacy mode at 1000 nits, well, don't expect great runtimes there, obviously. The full HD standard IPS screen will have the best battery life. The OLED display typically will have the worst battery life on this. This is Intel Evo certified, which means it's supposed to have instant wake up, and it does, and pretty good battery life. So we have the OLED one, worst case scenario there, and I'm getting about 8 hours, which actually for an OLED laptop is really good. Now that's running at only 150 nits of brightness and doing productivity work, streaming video, that sort of thing. If you're pushing it harder, sure, you'll get shorter run times on this. But again, if you're really concerned about battery life, there is IPS as that option too, if you can give up on that luscious OLED look. So HP calls this user inaccessible. Basically, for upgrades, you can. So 2 Torx T5 screws are visible at the front. You do have to remove the rear rubber strip. So here it is. Try to get the adhesive off in one piece with it. It may stretch a little bit. If you munge this up totally, hpparts.com should be able to sell you another one of these, but if you're careful, you should be able to get it off. And then there will be Phillips head screws here, just to mix and match a little bit, and you'll have to use a guitar pick or something to pry off the cover. It's a little on the sharp side in the back edge, so be careful of your fingers when you do it. There's the underside of the cover, metal. And here are internals with a lot of stuff kind of covered up. We can see 2 speaker drivers surrounding the battery, which is pretty much normal. The 66 watt-hour battery right here, pretty big battery, literally speaking, it's big. And the M.2 SSD underneath this heat cover right here. And we've got the Wi-Fi card soldered on under this piece of heat cover right here. You can see that. And if you want to see a bit of the heat sinks a little bit more, we can peel off some more of this for you. And there we go, the CPU heatsink here. That's a pretty good cooling solution for an Ultrabook, honestly. We've got dual fans going on as well. So upgradability, not too impressive, your typical Ultrabook SSD and nothing else. And there's the rest of your internals. So that's the HP Spectre x360 14-inch, and what a nice evolution. Just when it seemed like nothing much was going on with the once great Spectre x360, they've given us something that I think a lot of us really would enjoy here. A 3:2 aspect ratio display, and still a fairly compact 3-pound, which is about 1.34 kilogram laptop. And you know, this dimension still isn't that huge. And the takeaway is very well done, HP here. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos and hit the notification bell so you know about them.